Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We're excited to have you here at our end of year deep dive into some of Hino's most impactful features, all designed to help you streamline your practice and better serve your communities. As we wrap up the year and look ahead to 2026, today's session is all about working smarter, not harder. We'll walk through key tools that can help your practice finish the year strong and step into the new year with clarity and confidence. During our time together, we will highlight key end of year features for your practice to close out 2025 and jumpstart into 2026. The KX reset, so you're fully prepared for the annual Medicare reset and know exactly how Hino simplifies resetting patient thresholds, will be the first thing that we go over. Secondly, we'll go over SLAP type eligibility to ensure appointments can properly check eligibility and seed the right details from the start. Then we'll go into case duplication, a smarter way to save time and streamline your case management workflows. And lastly, we'll do our 2025 feature recap, highlighting some of the biggest features released this year and how they support your day-to-day operations. Whether you are here as a physical therapist, working the front end, or a biller, this webinar is packed with practical takeaways you can start using right away to improve efficiency and get even more value from Hino. So stick with us through the entire webinar, as we will also be doing a live Q&A at the end for everything that we do go over today. We're really glad that you're here and joined us today. So let's dive in.
Thank you, May. Really excited here to showcase the features for the end of year as well as those as a wrap up for the 2025 feature releases that we've done this past year. Uh, just getting started here right off the bat, we'll jump into the KX reset coming up. So with the end of year here with the Medicare reset approaching, we do have our notice at the top of our general page here, as well as our article on resetting and turning off the KX modifier rules. So you don't have to turn off those individually per patient. We do have a reset option. To do and to go about this, essentially what you would be wanting to do is first ensure that your patients have been checked out for the end of the year. So you'd want to go ahead and go through and make sure that the patients that haven't been checked out yet are checked out. You could access those in a couple of different ways through our not checked out report over here, from the schedule, and as well from the today report. These reports will go ahead and pull up your patients to go ahead and move them along the lines of getting them into the checked out state. With the patients checked out, that's where we'd want to go ahead and ensure that patients for our 2025 year have been checked out, and we could go through that reset process. So with the patients from our KX tracking that currently have rules enabled, utilizing the KX reset, we'll go ahead and turn off the KX rules and reset the amounts of the patient. So that way you're ready for that 2026 year for your best tracking and abilities. To go ahead and do so, under your admin practice tab, we'll go to our Medicare tab right over here. This is where we have our bright red button to remove all KX rules. This will go ahead and remove the KX rules from the patient's profile, as well as reset their amounts for the cap. So that way they're ready to start off fresh for the 2026 year. Just as an example to see what that would look like, once you have all your patients checked out, you would want to go through this process here of removing the KX. The confirmation would appear, and that's where you would select the remove all KX rules. Go ahead and go through the process and go ahead and confirm that as well. With that in place, that goes ahead and resets your KX. So again, you'd want to do this in the new year once you have all of your 2025 visits checked out for your KX tracking to be able to start anew and have your best accuracy for that as well. Going into our next main function, we'll go ahead and talk about slot type eligibility. So in 2025, we made some upgrades to our eligibility tracking with P-Verify to help with the accuracy, to help scores reaching around the 95 percentile there. Our eligibility is being pulled in from P-Verify through the insurance. So as your patient is created into Hino and eligibility is enabled for verification, it goes ahead and goes through that process for checking. Now, we did expand that as well in a couple of different ways. So outside from your standard patient creation, to go ahead and create the patient and check the eligibility once you add in their case and policy information, as well as within the patient's profile itself, we've added it as well into the slot itself. So for your individual slot types, you have the ability to enable eligibility verification for uh, for the patients here. So by enabling it on the slot level, setting the auto run eligibility, you can have some different options here between do not run, where you do not want it to run in process, run and add an action item. We'll go ahead and process the eligibility and then add an action item for validation at check-in to go ahead and be aware. Maybe handy, for instance, like with the evaluations or so. And then run and replace could be handy on your day-to-day visits where you want to generate the eligibility and replace what's currently in place if you want to have that replacement option as well. In terms of the days prior to auto eligibility, we did expand it here from 4 down to 1, so you can have it for next day eligibility by adjusting it to the 1 day out instead of the 4 originally in place. One additional setting that you will need to go through is under the billing insurance. For the insurances that you want this to go ahead and process and run through, is that inside of each insurances, we do have individual insurance eligibility markers. And this is where you can select the eligibility payer ID as well as your in or out of network status for it to go ahead and run for those benefits. So you would need those options in place in order to utilize this, but it is a great way to stay on top of eligibility to go ahead and gather in details such as the copay, co-insurance, policy, max visits, expiration dates, along the likes thereof. And just to take a look here into an example as we go into New Year, let's go ahead and pull up a patient's profile. And with the patient's profile here, we'll go ahead and go into their case. Now for the case here, this is our 2025 case and we have our case details. Let's go ahead and utilize the all cases button right here. And this will bring us to our all cases. We have a duplicate case button over here if you'd like to utilize this. What this will go ahead and do is give you the option to go ahead and duplicate your case as well as copy over the authorizations if you would like to do so. You can go ahead and edit the name of the case how you'd like to. And select duplicate. This will go ahead and create your new case as well as the copy over from the details of the policy. And this is where you could go ahead and utilize an eligibility check to go ahead and take a look at that individual there to confirm their eligibility. And this will go ahead and run through that eligibility check. So we could go ahead and have our updated benefits just to make sure everything is in place for this patient and we're not missing any details. We can go ahead and view the eligibility results by clicking on the download icon. That'll go ahead and pull up our download cloud so you can go ahead and view your details for the patient, for their statuses, for deductibles, out-of-pocket details, and as well down here for instance, my copay is 25, visits in network is 35 remaining, as an example there. Now, what that did is inside of the patient's policy, I went ahead and had that process run through for the eligibility check, and that updated my copay amount for 25, my deductible amount of 500, policy max visits of 35, and then my effective start and end dates there accordingly alike as well. So great feature to utilize for end of year as well as that case duplication to go ahead and start a new case for the new year there to go ahead and have that fresh for the patient. And then you could go ahead and update appointments as needed to that new case as well for those clinics that are utilizing it. We'll go ahead and take a pivot from here and talk about details in terms for our uh, updates on the clinical level for documentation and automation. Part of Hino's goals for 2025 was to ease the ability for patients and providers to be able to connect with patients by means of documentation. One of those main strides that we focused on was to implement AI into Hino for capturing details for the initial eval, progress note, discharge, daily note, and we wanted to expand this ability. So we expanded it as well to other sections, for instance, your classic templates. So before we take a look at those over there, we'll go ahead at our results. We'll go ahead and take a look at the templates just to mention. The classic templates in Hino are those that are pre-built with your standard range of motion measurements for your active ROM and passive ROM. It has a combination between your standard ones for cervical, back, shoulder, hand, knee, hip, elbow, balance, ankle. We even got our workers' comp in there, so that functionality is available. And just a sneak peek into the upcoming release webinar, we do also have it available for custom templates as well. Let's jump back into talking about the AI abilities of Hino. Is we had that AI process and record through the evaluation. And this is the generative AI that it came up with as it pulled apart details from the interaction with the patient. So as you can see here, this is the information that it gathered for subjective text, objective information, my measurements for my back, the assessment, a proposed plan, and this is where I could utilize generative goals, a new additional feature, to go ahead and generate the goals for the patient as well. We introduce AI generative goals based off of the interpretation of the recording again with the patient. So this is where we have our AI generative goals over here that you can utilize and pull into your short-term goals and long-term goals. You have the ability to designate where you want these goals to go into, whether you want to switch the positions of them. You can do so from the list over here. You could regenerate the goals as well. Otherwise, if you want to create them manually, we do also have the manual goals as well over here to see those in. We'll just go ahead and click the save goals over here to go ahead and save and update those information. And then this will go ahead and load through my evaluation to go ahead and add in those generative goals, again, that it pulled in based off of the recording of the evaluation with the patient there. It is again available for the short-term and long-term goals for 1 through 5, and the AI itself is available for your subjective objective assessment plan, as well as your classic measurements for your classic templates, and then with our mentioned with the upcoming release, the custom templates as well. So it added in my goals for 1 through 5 there for short term, and then as well into my long-term field, added in those details as well. In terms of utilizing AI in the office, there is some setup that needs to be enabled under the practice level, and that can be found under your admin practice tab to go ahead and enable AI for use in the office. In terms of utilizing the AI assistant, this is where you have the option to go ahead and give feedback to the AI itself. For instance, if there was details off of your recording that has generated the information, you could utilize the AI assistant in the upper right-hand corner to go ahead and provide those detailed feedback. The documentation AI chat has the functionality to go ahead and provide feedback off of details that you'd like. So let's just say, for example, my assessment to be bullet points. You could also utilize the AI chat to go ahead and give you details off of information for general information itself. So he'll go ahead and gather details. But the main benefit to utilizing it is that as you continue to utilize the chat over here, it goes ahead and gets to know your documentation style more and more. And what that means in the end result is that as you utilize the AI more and provide feedback off of what you like for your own documentation style, the AI has the ability to learn and reflect from that for your future notes. So as you get into your future notes, it goes ahead and makes it custom towards your own well-being. So in here, it is just giving me details in terms of the assessment in this information, but this will go ahead and store it as I end my chat here for my AI instructions to go ahead and take that feedback for my future documentation sessions with the patient itself. So this gives me my confirmation that it's finishing up. And it'll go ahead and load through the processes there for identifying the feedback that I gave. And again, this could be expanded not just between that assessment that I gave for it, but also for the other fields as well, for your SOAP note fields to go ahead and gather in those details. This is where it goes ahead and gives me the details off of some suggestive features for how to adjust essentially the instructions for the AI. And I'll click that accept and activate all. Or if I want to reject and say, no, I don't like those details, you could reject it as well. But accepting it will go ahead and store that in the memory bank for the AI to go ahead and keep that in mind at your next appointment or when it utilizes AI in the future. In terms of the recording itself, it is stored within Hino under your AI transcript viewer. So that's where you can go ahead and take a look at the recording itself, as well as the general transcript of the information to go ahead and see the details that was captured for the evaluation. So like, for instance, this one here for when I was in a rear end collision. And in case the AI itself needed to be reprocessed, we did also add in a reprocessability to go ahead and regenerate the AI should it stall out to go ahead and reprocess based off of the captured transcript. So a lot of details there, but we did want to touch on that as a main focus point, as it is pretty handy for, again, throughout your use of your evaluation, progress note, discharge, and daily note. The AI is available for those SOAP note fields and the classic templates inside of Hino as well. In terms of the updates on the backend itself, we do also have some details for those who are utilizing AI in the office for those EOBs that come in via paper, mail, and then check. We've added in the ability to go ahead and scan those in. So as an individual EOB is scanned in, you'd want to have that individual insurance payment. So that individual insurance payment, you'd go ahead and put in the payment amount right over here, and then upload your EOB section into the choose file ability. This goes ahead and reviews the PDF file itself to go ahead and scan in the details off of the EOB, and then it will attempt to review the claim, search, and post. So as you add in the payment amount, upload your file, and submit it, it'll go ahead and go through that generative process to go ahead and let you know the document was processed utilizing an AI-driven system. It'll give you your insurance info, reference number, payment amount, and then the claims associated with it. And then as you go into the payment, that's where you'd be able to see where it was applied through the claims, as well as the files as well, to go ahead and to see that upload should you ever need a reference to it again in the future. So great functionality for cutting down on manual payment posting. Uh, it's a way to help upload your EOBs and get those processed for review. Some speediness and effectiveness on the checkout screen we want to mention is here in the patient's checkout screen, we've added in the provider, as the provider is checking out the patient, we've added in some functionality for visit charges. So among those is, for instance, the experience time has the ability to be edited by clicking on our bicycle icon there. And the experiences can be modified at checkout based off of their minutes and CPT codes if needed. So you don't have to toggle back and forth between the screens to go ahead and update this information should you need to. In addition, we've added in functionality for the approval of the daily note upon checkout. So it will go ahead and run through some verification checks to go ahead and see if the fields that have been marked as required have been filled out. And if it passes, then it'll go ahead and process through to approve the daily note. To approve that, you'd want to check on that toggle there, and it is only available for checkout, so you'd need to check out the patient, but that will go ahead and check out the patient and attempt to approve the daily note as well. And just as always, if we have our adjustments here that we need to make, it'll go ahead and let us know if we need to make adjustments. Otherwise, we could select our reason for the appointment for the adjustment of slot units billed versus the timed amount that they were on the schedule, and go ahead and proceed from checkout from there. So there are the verification checks in place as you check out the individual patient as well. Touching on some revenue cycle billing and payment optimizations is if we take a look here into a patient's profile. We'll head over to our patient page. And we'll just go into a test patient to go ahead and talk about some details on the payment side that we've added as well. For those clinics that are utilizing Card Connect for their credit card processor in Hino, Card Connect has the ability to go ahead and connect with Hino to go ahead and add in additional functionality. Among those include storing the card on file, collecting payments through the portal, collecting patient statements for electronically for those that are sent via email and text, as well as collecting your general patient payments and setting up payment plans for the patient on their individual level as well. We've added in functionality for credit cards to be able to be processed for surcharges. So those have the ability to go ahead and collect surcharges as well. So we'll just go into a patient example over here and into our payments page. So as a payment is created into Hino, we'll just take a example cash payment here. We have the prior functionality to apply the payment to the general store order. So any general store orders that are open, there is quick apply for that. In addition to statements, so any statements that are generated, there is quick apply to that as well. This is just an example for if the patient made a payment in place and you want to quickly apply it to a statement. If any statements were available from the drop-down, you'd be able to select on that and select apply statement. For patient statements that are made online through the portal, for those patient statements, those are applied to those balances also. In terms of some updates as well on the insurance settings, we'll go into our insurance capabilities. And touch on our auto bill secondary. For insurances that you would like to enable auto billing of the secondary, this can be put in place. So for instance, if you want to enable this here for Blue Cross Blue Shield, enabling auto bill secondary will go through the process where those instances of circumstances there would need to be met, whether through auto post where you have ERAs coming into Hino, and if the flag's turned on as a payment post and the secondary has not been previously billed, it will go ahead and send out. And then likewise for manual payment posting with those details there mentioned, where it'll go ahead and flag to auto bill towards the secondary once those are met for the manual payment posting as well. For self-pay insurances that are enabled self-pay, just as a mention, we do have those to be linked for auto applying payments at the claim generation to go ahead and post that payments to help cut down on payment posting time as well. In terms of additional payment optimizations, if we take a look under our admin practice tab, we'll talk about our kiosk. So the kiosk is a great way to express the processing of patients at the front end, as well as proceeding with them through checkout. We've added abilities for the patient to go ahead and expanding for collecting the coinsurance at the checkout by utilizing the toggle here. It was previously enabled for collecting copays, but now with collecting coinsurance at checkout, the CPT codes would need to be in place, and patients have the ability to prepay their coinsurance at checkout as they're checking out from the portal itself. The portal also has the ability to enable or disable scheduling. So if you want to enable scheduling for your patients through the portal, this can also be set up to allow scheduling functions, as well as running the enabling the scan for scanning the patient's insurance card or driver's license itself. And then there's some default options as well for requiring statement balance to be prepaid, to either display the balance as optional, require the payment, and allow patients to change the payment amount itself should they need to pay a lower balance if they have a high balance, for example. And just to take a look at our kiosk here, we'll go ahead and jump into our kiosk. And let's check in our patient. Patients will go ahead and confirm their appointment. And that's where they could take a look at different things such as scheduling appointments, where they would be greeted by the slot type that they would need to schedule for. And then they can select the provider that they needed to schedule with as well. And that would show the provider times where they could go ahead and select when they would like to schedule appointments with the individual. And then as well as look out for the next week as they're aware for their plan of care requires 2 times a week. And they need to schedule 6 more appointments there. Let's go back to our main page and we'll just take a look at our paperwork. So the paperwork, this is where we have that scan ID or scan insurance card. So with the kiosks that have the scanner through LilyTab to go ahead and scan the IDs and insurance cards, it's a way for patients to go ahead and do that step and upload that directly into their profile compared to on the practice level of manually scanning those in as well. And then in terms of intake abilities, the intake forms can be sent to the patient either via by going to the intake form, sending a link to their cell phone, emailing to them as different options as well, whether they want to complete it directly from the kiosk itself or send the link to them. They also have the ability to go ahead and proceed with that check-in there, to go ahead and check themselves in. And again, here we just have that copay amount. So in this case, this patient has a copay where they would proceed with the pay now to go ahead and process that payment. And just as we take a step back, we'll go ahead and discuss intake connection. For intakes that are sent to patients, that are sent to them via text or email, we've added in the ability for patient demographics to be linked as well. So over here, once that's enabled under the patient's profile, there's an update personal information section where the patient go ahead and fill in their details for their general demographics, and this all will seed into the patient's profile. So this is really handy in cases where you need to gather updated demographics, or in certain cases, maybe utilizing the quick add to quickly create the patient's general first name, last name, phone number, gender, birthday, and zip code with email, and you add those basic information in. The patient goes ahead and receives this info where they confirm their details, add in their updated information, put in additional insurances like their member ID and group number. If they have a primary and a secondary, fill in those details, and goes ahead and creates that into the patient's case. So it's a great way to help also cut down time on the front end and help maximize the ability for the back end itself. We'll go ahead and take a look now back to our schedule for the schedule updates. So if you notice here on my schedule, there is this green background here in that is highlighted, and then there's those gray areas compared to my fellow teammate here that has the white background. We've added in functionality for the schedule to have background events. What this is essentially a set schedule that you have the ability to lock it in place for the individual, where you could set their available hours and unavailable hours. So instead of having to put blocks on the schedule when the individual is not available, you could utilize the uh, background events by going to our resource and into their resource settings and updating their schedule. So this is where you can update the schedule for the individual for their general start and end times, as well as when they're not available. If let's say they're not working weekends, you can mark them as unavailable for those weekends right over here. The use schedule is just in terms of enabling to display on the calendar, and should you ever need to remove it, you could also reset utilizing the remove schedule from here. The custom shifts gives you the ability for flexibility with the schedule. So should you need to add in coverage hours where you need to expand availability for a person who's typically not available at that time, or you need to reduce availability because let's say they're on vacation, that's where we have our create option here, and you can set your start date and end date accordingly, as well as your start and end time. And then you can mark them as if they're not available by having that toggle on, or available by having the toggle off. So depending on the need at that time, you could go ahead and have this as a way to expand your schedule functionality to go ahead and have that in place. It is noting that once schedule is in place, you won't have the ability to schedule beyond that, as that's where the custom shift would be needed for that gray area there, while the green area is the safe zone for going ahead and scheduling the individual directly. In terms of the hover over here for the tooltips, we did reorganize it a bit in terms of the icon layout, such as our friends icon here for viewing the patient's profile, credit card for charging the credit card, and then accessing the documentation, still standard through the documentation links by clicking on to the individual name of the hyperlink, and that'll bring you into the documentation. One big thing to note, it still does require the patient to be checked in, but we just had it condensed here a little bit with the icons to go ahead and give that some clarity and condensing for expansion of features in the future. Outside of that, for the schedule itself, we did increase our infrastructure upgrade. And what that essentially means is that down the road, we have some new features available to us that we will be able to make beneficial towards your practice as well. And one last mention is that we did add in the print schedule ability. So should you need to print out your schedule, we do have a button now where you could go ahead and click onto to go ahead and print out the schedule. Quite a few features for 2025, but we're very much excited for them for your practice there.
Thank you, Barrington. That was exceptional. There was so much about the new features released as well as our 2025 feature recap. I want to thank everyone for coming today, and I hope you enjoyed everything Barrington had to showcase for us today. Now, we will finish today's webinar with our Q&A section. If anyone has a question, please place it inside the Q&A chat box, and we will answer them in order as they pop up. Thank you.
And just to mention, in case anyone's typing into that chat and Q&A, the recording for this feature webinar will be available later today through a banner here at the top, as well as in our knowledge base as well. So there is a question here about the kiosk itself, or how does it integrate with Card Connect when taking payments, as in, do you swipe the card at the kiosk or the Clinic e-reader? So it's not enabled with terminals at this time, but that is coming out soon. The current process would be utilizing the card file or patient entry. And if you don't have the kiosk already enabled into your clinic, go ahead and reach out to our teams to inquire more information about the kiosk and details on having it enabled for your. A general tablet, such as like an iPad or so, is advised to be utilized. Some practices are using laptops itself to have those there as a stand. The main beneficial way to get the most perks out of it would be to utilize, for instance, an iPad and LilyTab's tablet case. LilyTab is a supplier that provides essentially a kiosk stand. You can go ahead and also obtain their IDA scanning tray, accessory tray, and it gives the most expanded ability for utilizing all the features of the kiosk as much as possible there.
We'll give it a couple more minutes just to see if anybody else has any more Q&As.
So there's a question here on, do we create a new case for everyone at the new year or just Medicare patients whose KX modifiers need to be updated? Oh, so what we typically see as the norm of what I've seen most practices do is that they will create a new case just to start off fresh, so that has a clear separation between um, last year and the year ahead. So most practices, I would say in general, do create a new case to go ahead and have that in place for visits forward. That is separate uh, from the from Medicare side for the KX tracking. Um, the For the Medicare and the KX tracking, you'd want to ensure all visits are checked out before you utilize that delete and reset option under the admin practice tab. For the new case, that's just beneficial across the board, I would say, for patients to have that new case created, so that way you have clear separation distinction for the new year.
All right, we've touched on a number of features today, both new and released throughout the year of 2025. We also answered any of the questions that came into our Q&A. If you're interested in streamlining your practice with any of the features discussed today that were released in 2025, please submit a ticket to our support and onboarding teams to begin utilizing those features in your practice today. Again, thank you everyone for joining us. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day and look forward to seeing you at the next webinar. As always, Hino is here to help you streamline your practice and impact your community. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you again, everyone, for joining today, and have a happy new year ahead.